All right, let's get into this deep dive for you. We've got quite a stack of sources here, all focused on one absolutely massive cricket match.
That's right. We're looking at a really critical game in the IPL 2025 season qualifier 1. It's Punjab Kings, PBKS, versus Royal Challengers Bengaluru RCB.
Yeah, and our job here really is to cut straight through all the info in these articles and videos you've given us. We want to pull out the most important insights, the strategies, the key players, basically get you fully up to speed on this specific matchup.
And the stakes, well, they couldn't be much higher, could they?
The winner here goes straight into the final. That's huge. It really is. It bypasses all the other drama. Win this, you're one step from the trophy. Lose, and, well, you're fighting for survival.
Plus, there's that whole history angle. Both PBKS and RCB, they're still chasing that first IPL title, aren't they? One source used this phrase, achingly similar themes of tears, heartbreaks, and anguish. That really paints a picture.
It does. It adds this emotional undercurrent to the whole thing. Years of near misses for both fan bases.
And look at the head-to-head record from the sources. It totally backs that up. Out of 35 matches, PBKS have won 18, RCB 17.
Wow, that's incredibly close. Almost nothing between them historically.
Exactly. It just heightens the tension for this one.
And this specific game is happening at Mullanpur in Chandigarh. That's PBKS's home turf.
Right. So let's dig into what the sources tell us about Mullanpur itself. Apparently, it's hosted 9 matches in total before this one.
Okay. And the toss. What happened there?
RCB won it, chose to bowl first. The captain mentioned the wicket looked pretty hard.
Wanting to make early inroads, maybe.
Yeah, that was the logic. To maximize the first few overs, bowling first, as he put it.
But the venue itself, it sounds a bit tricky to predict based on the sources.
Very much so. Like, batting first has won slightly more often, 5 wins versus 4 chasing. And one source even said most games there weren't chased down.
Okay, so favoring setting a target.
You'd think so, but then you look at the scores. The average is maybe 170, 180, but it's seen some really high totals. We're talking 219, 200, 192, 180.
Whoa, so it can be a batting paradise.
It can, but then the flip side, PBKS themselves have been bowled out for like 111, 142, 157 there.
Goodness. So really inconsistent then.
Massively. The expected score range for this match was cited as 140 to 190. That's a huge window. Tells you everything about the unpredictability.
And what about the pitch condition itself? Any clues there?
The sources mention it's expected to be a fresh wicket. Apparently the last match there was about a month ago.
Oh, interesting. And that was also PBKS versus RCB, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. So a fresh pitch, maybe a bit more pace and bounce early on, could help the batsmen and the main quick bowlers.
Okay. More variables. And there was even a mention of rain.
Just a possibility mentioned in one source. Yeah. Could affect the outfield, maybe bring Duckworth-Lewis into play if it's significant. Just another thing to keep in mind.
Right. So unpredictable ground, fresh pitch, maybe rain.
Got it. Let's move to the players. The sources gave us the playing axes, right? They did. Specific lineups for this qualifier. For RCB, the big news was Josh Hazlewood coming in. He replaced Nuwan Thushara.
Hazlewood, okay. Anyone else notable for RCB?
Team David was expected back. The captain had mentioned that. And Krunal Pandya and Romario Shepherd were listed in the XA.
And for PBKS, any key changes there?
Marco Jansen was missing, but Asmatullah Omarzai and Kyle Jamieson were in.
Jamieson, okay. And what about Chahal? There was some talk about his wrist.
Yeah, Yuzvendra Chahal. He's in the squad, but the sources noted he'd only be in the playing XI if that wrist injury was okay. If he plays, he's obviously crucial. Vijay Kumar Vishak, also in the squad, but not the starting XI.
Gotcha. Okay, let's talk bowling then. The strategies, the matchups. What did the sources highlight for RCB's attack?
Well, Hazlewood's inclusion was seen as massive, an important player, potential for maybe 2 wickets, specifically flagged as someone who could trouble the PBKS openers. He's taken 3 wickets against them before.
And Bhuvneshwar Kumar. He often does well against Punjab, doesn't he?
Phenomenal record, actually. 31 wickets in 23 matches against PBKS. The sources specifically pointed out he could be a problem for Priyansh Arya, one of the openers.
Wow. 2 big threats with the new ball then. What about the rest?
Yash Dayal was mentioned as someone to maybe look out for in the second innings bowling. His form's been a bit, hot and cold, but he finished strongly in that recent CSK game.
Right.
Then there's Krunal Pandya, left arm spinner, seen as important because RCB's lineup is mostly right-handed. So favorable matchup for him, chance for a wicket or 2, and he's quite an intelligent cricketer, batter ball.
And Shepherd?
Romario Shepherd, more of a 6th bowler option, perhaps bowl an over or 2, not expected to be a primary weapon.
It's interesting about the pitch helping bowlers. The sources seemed a bit divided. Fast bowlers get average help, but spinners also take wickets.
Yeah, it wasn't clear cut. Spinners definitely get into the game, apparently taking 2-4 wickets per innings on average. The recent stats were almost even, 27 wickets for pace, 23 for spin.
So despite RCB wanting to use the hard pitch early, spin could be just as vital.
Absolutely. The total wickets expected across the match were put between 12 and 18, which covers both types.
Okay, switching sides. PBKS's bowling attack. Who are the key players there, according to the sources?
Arshdeep Singh, definitely. He's highlighted as important, especially if PBKS bowl first. Good head-to-head record.
Yeah.
Tends to strike in the first innings, maybe less so in the second sometimes.
And the spinners. We mentioned Chahal potentially playing, but who else?
Harpreet Brar, left-arm spinner, and the sources were really strong on this one. One literally said he always troubles RCB.
Always. That's quite a statement.
It is, and his record backs it up. 11 wickets in 8 matches against them. He consistently gets RCB batsmen out. Like Krunal for RCB, Brar has that advantage against the right-handers.
So he could be a really smart fantasy pick. Maybe overlooked.
That's exactly what one source suggested. A Grand League differential because people might focus elsewhere, but he has such specific success against this opponent.
And if Chahal does play alongside Brar,
then RCB could be facing a serious spin examination, especially in the middle overs. Chahal's important, particularly bowling second. He's taken wickets in both his previous games against RCB. That duo could be potent.
any other PBKS bowlers mentioned?
Kyle Jamieson was noted as useful for both performance, suggesting he can contribute with bat and ball.
Okay, makes sense. Let's shift to the batting then. What are the general patterns at Mullanpur that the sources picked up on?
A key one was about the openers. Apparently it's common for one opener to do well, but very rare for both to fire. Only happened once in the 9 matches there.
Interesting. So maybe don't stack your fantasy team with both openers.
That seems to be the implication. Instead, the middle order batters at 4, 5, and 6 often contribute significantly. At least 1 or 2 of them tend to step up.
Right. So looking at RCB's lineup specifically, Phil Salt.
Important player, scores quickly, high fantasy potential, especially good batting second, the sources noted. But
There's always a but.
Yeah.
his record against PBKS this season wasn't great, flopped twice. And his record at Mullanpur is terrible, just 1 run in his only innings there. So he needs a big one, needs to carry on big.
And then there's Virat Kohli. The sources seem quite dramatic about him.
They did use the phrase airy. Basically means it's boom or bust, either a huge score or an early dismissal. High risk, a high reward.
But he does have history against PBKS.
Oh yeah. Big scores in the past, 59, 77, 92, 73. And he's the only RCB batter with a good average at Mullanpur 73 in that one match.
But that points to the potential issue, right? Over-reliance.
That's the sources hinted at, yeah. That RCB might be a bit too dependent on him firing, especially facing that spin threat we talked about.
What about the others? Patidar, Team David.
Rajat Patidar, the captain, may be one to consider batting first, but his records are inconsistent. Team David, though, was called a trump player.
A Trump player.
Yeah.
Like a game changer.
Exactly. Someone who could have a match-winning impact. Good in both innings. And his head-to-head average against PBKS is brilliant 108 across 4 matches. Scored 50 batting first against them before.
Okay, he sounds crucial. Anyone else?
Mayank Agarwal was also labeled a trump player. Expected at number 3, another option for either innings.
So summing up RCB's batting, potential firepower with Kohli and David. Salt needs to find form here, but maybe lacks the depth of PBKS and faces that spin challenge.
That seems a fair assessment based on the sources, yeah. And that contrasts with PBKS, whose batting lineup was described as their biggest strength. They specifically mentioned the depth.
Right, they listed a whole bunch of names. Prabhsimran, Priyansh, Inglis, Shreyas.
Wadhera, Shashank, Stoinis, Omarzai, Jamieson, even Harpreet Brar can bat. That depth is seen as a major plus.
Okay, let's break down some of those key PBKS batters. Prabhsimran Singh.
Recent form, just average, maybe slightly better batting first, mixed head-to-head, but a really poor venue record average of 17. Flagged as someone who might get out early.
Priyansh Arya, the other opener.
Better record batting first, got 62 last time. Decent venue average too, 37. But also in that might get out early category, with Bhuvneshwar seen as a threat to him specifically.
Josh Inglis, the keeper.
Not great recently, bad venue record, average head-to-head. Another one who might get out early, according to the sources.
Seems like a theme for the top order. What about the captain, Shreyas Iyer?
Yeah, his venue and head-to-head numbers aren't amazing either, but the sources still felt he had a chance to perform well here. Key middle-order player, but guess what?
Don't tell me. Might get out early.
You got it. It was a recurring point for that Toperly middle order.
Who isn't likely to get out early?
Well, Nihal Wadhera was mentioned positively. Good against spin in the middle, one to try batting first, and then Shashank Singh really stood out.
Shashank. He's had a great season.
Absolutely. The sources raved about him. Key player, especially middle to lower order, good venue record, good head-to-head. Described as an anchor, keeps the strike rate up, doesn't throw his wicket away.
Sounds like exactly what they need if the top order struggles.
Precisely. He was even quoted sounding confident about winning, recommended for fantasy in both innings or definitely batting second.
Any word on Marcus Stoinis?
Just that his head-to-head record against RCB this season was poor.
Okay, so deep batting lineup for PBKS, but maybe some vulnerability at the very top, with Shashank Singh being crucial in that middle phase.
That seems to be the picture. Now, intriguingly, the sources also gave us some live updates from the start of the actual match.
Oh, cool. So we can see how things actually began playing out compared to the predictions.
Exactly. So, as predicted, RCB won the toss, bowled first, and straight away, PBKS were under the pump.
Really early wickets.
Yes. Prabhsimran went out to Bhuvneshwar. Then Josh Inglis and Shreyas Iyer fell quickly to Josh Hazlewood.
Wow. So those predictions about them being vulnerable early and about Hazlewood and Bhuvi being threats, spot on in the initial phase.
Absolutely validated those points. There was a score update mentioned. PBKS were struggling at 48 for 4 at one stage.
48 for 4. That's serious pressure on a qualifier.
Huge pressure. But there were small counter punches. Prabhsimran hit a few boundaries before he got out. Nihal Wadhera got a 4 off a free hit. Stoinis managed a 4 and a 6 too.
So, not completely collapsing, but definitely reeling. Any fielding mentions?
Yeah, good efforts noted from RCB's Suyash and Livingstone, saving runs, showing intensity from ball 1.
So that early action really highlights that key battleground the sources identified. PBKS batting depth versus RCB's main bowlers.
Precisely. Hazlewood and Bhuvi made immediate impacts. It sets up the rest of the innings perfectly. Can that PBKS depth recover? How will RCB handle the middle overs, especially against spin?
Right, because those spin matchups we discussed, Brar, maybe Chahal, against RCB's right-handers, that threat is still very much looming for RCB's chase, assuming they restrict PBKS to a manageable total.
Exactly. It throws that contrast in team structure into sharp relief again. PDKS's long batting order versus RCB may be relying more on individuals like Kohli or David to see them through, especially against quality spin. How does that balance play out under knockout pressure?
And this all feeds back into the fantasy angle too, which the sources covered. Big money potentially on the line, like that 5 crore prize mentioned.
Yeah, and they stressed the importance of finding those 1 or 2 differential players. The less obvious picks who could make a huge difference if they come good. Like maybe Harpreet Brar, given his specific record here.
Right, and the sources gave pointers on who was important when, didn't they?
They did. Priyansh Arya and Shreyas Iyer maybe more so batting first. Arshdeep Singh bowling first, Hazlewood bowling second. Chahal, if he plays, definitely bowling second.
And for the batters, Salt better batting second. Kohli, that angel going gamble.
Team David and Mayank Agarwal as those potential trump players. And Shashank Singh looking like a really solid pick for either innings, but especially crucial batting second. Harpreet Brar, almost a must-have given the matchup, maybe.
So using those venue patterns, like maybe picking only one opener, focusing on batters 4, 5, 6, combined with these specific player notes, really helps build that fantasy strategy.
It gives you a really solid base, yeah, drawing on everything the sources offered.
So wrapping this up, it's been a deep dive into a really fascinating qualifier one. You've got the Mullanpur enigma, the different team builds, the key head-to-heads, especially spin versus RCB's right-handers, and that immense pressure.
And the fact that the winner goes straight to the final just amplifies everything.
Yeah.
No second chances for the loser in this game's context.
So here's a final thought, drawing from everything we've sifted through. You have Mullanpur's potential for crazy score swings, PBKS with that deep batting lineup, and RCB maybe more reliant on stars, but with potent bowlers like Hazlewood. Which team's fundamental approach or structure do you think is ultimately better suited to navigating the chaos and pressure of a winner-takes-all final eliminator like this one? Something to chew on.